This is a read aloud of the book The Salmon. This is expository text. That means we will learn about the life cycle of salmon. The Salmon by Sabrina Crew. The salmon has hidden her eggs. The salmon has laid her eggs on the bottom of the river. She has covered the eggs with gravel, which helps keep them hidden. Inside the eggs, salmon embryos are growing. Soon the mother salmon will drift away and the baby salmon will look after themselves when they hatch. The salmon is hatching. After 8 weeks, the salmon embryo breaks the egg with its tail. The embryo is coming out is called now a larva, also known as alevin. The yolk of the egg is still attached to the larva, alevin. This will be its only food for the next few weeks. The larva alevin stays hidden in the gravel. The salmon has left the nest. The salmon is several weeks old. It has become a young fish. The salmon eat tiny animals in the river, such as water fleas and insect larvae, and this stage is called fry. Now the salmon is nearly 1 year old, and it's called par. It has started to hunt small fish. It catches minnows with its sharp teeth. The salmon are migrating, which means to move long distances. The salmon is 2 years old. It's called a smolt. It has grown much larger. The dark spots on its body have disappeared. The salmon is ready to migrate. The salmon are leaving the river where they were born, and they are migrating out to the ocean. The salmon have reached the ocean. They have traveled hundreds of miles. Other groups of salmon have arrived in the ocean at the same time. They have come from many different rivers. The salmon are adults now. They have plenty to eat in their new home. They live on shrimp and small fish, such as anchovies. The salmon grow quickly in the ocean. Salmon travel in groups. As they move around the ocean, salmon stay together in groups called schools. A big school will frighten away small enemies. It will also protect the salmon when large fish attach. So here's a school and there's one. After 3 years in the ocean, the salmon are fully grown adults. They migrate back to the river where they were born. They know their own river by the smell of the water. The salmon leap up a waterfall. The salmon have reached their river, and when they come to the waterfall, the salmon jump high out of the water to reach the top. The salmon meet other dangers on their journey. There are sharp rocks along the way. Often there's bears waiting to catch salmon as they migrate. The salmon have changed color. The salmon spend many weeks traveling up the river. As they swim, they start to look different. This is the spawning adult. The sides and back of the salmon become bright red. The tops of their heads turn green, and the male salmon grow hooked jaws. This is the male, and that's the female. The salmon have found their home. After many weeks, the salmon reach the river where they hatched. The salmon are very tired and thin. They have had no food on their journey. The male salmon are competing for a female salmon. The salmon that wins the fight will fertilize the female's eggs. Female salmon is digging a nest, using her tail to make a hole in the gravel on the bottom of the river. She's making a safe place to lay her eggs. The male salmon are over the nest. The female salmon lets out her eggs, and the male salmon lets out the sperm over the eggs. When an egg and a sperm join, a new salmon can grow. The salmon dies after it is spawned. The salmon are warned by their long migration. They die after spawning. Salmon are in danger because the rivers where they live have become polluted. Dams across rivers may stop salmon from returning to their streams. People can help by keeping rivers clean and not catching too many salmon for food. This is the parts of a salmon. They're fish, with backbones. They live and breathe in the water. Most fish are covered with scales. Fish live in streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, and ocean. So here's the tail fin. This is the second dorsal fin used for balance. This is the regular dorsal fin, also used for balance. Here is the gill cover to protect the gills, and underneath there are the gills. They use those for breathing. The pectoral fins, one on this side and the other side, they use them for steering. The whole body is covered in scales. Down here is the pelvic fin and the anal fin. Other fish, salmon is one kind of fish, but there's lots of kinds of salmon. One of them is sockeye. But here's some other kind of fish that might live out in the ocean. Where the sockeye salmon lives is over up in North America. The kind of salmon that we have in our river here, the Stanislaus River, is actually called the Chinook salmon, but they're very similar. Thank you for reading and following along with me.